Hang on. All right. Howdy, everybody. Yeah, my phone was not like cooperating with me earlier, so I hang on. It wasn't quite this wasn't quite due, but yeah. Anyway, we are here. We're alive. We are. Go. That looks better. We were in the process last time. Well, last time we were writing, and of writing this little story here based off of a prompt. Our prompt was write about a character whose job is to bring water to people, based off of me just kind of running it through my usual thought process of applying it to a setting. Like we established that, like since he's a writer, probably not since he's a water carrier, probably like is responsible for maintaining some form of like watering hole. I made it like a solitary thing instead of like a group is in charge of the whole thing, because one of our main focuses here is on loneliness, and yeah, just to sort of hang on. I'm not the best setup right now because there's a I got home like half an hour ago after a hike, and I'm sweaty and confused and tired, but we're still doing this, so so I'm just kind of rolling with this on the fly. Sorry, I'm still a little fatigued, so my words are gonna be a little jumbled at the start here. But yeah, we're in the Colorado deserts, and I think we got to the part where a plane crashed on the oasis, and we've got a strapping young aviator here who just popped in. So what we need to do is figure out how we're gonna develop from here. We had the background and the introduction relatively well set up, but now we're gonna have to figure out the development, which is I'm pretty decent at starting a story. I always had trouble like getting the development to go. One thing I always have trouble with writing is that my writing's too predictable. I'm bad at twists is the main deal. There's an art to it. It takes a while. You kind of have to. Sometimes it takes you going through the development and realizing you want to do something, and then you have to like double back and then rip the whole thing back open again, and then try to put the pieces back together in a way that made it seem like the whole thing was intended in the first place. Because that's the cruelty of editing. You just kind of have to tear apart what you've already made. But yeah. Oh, by the way, I mentioned earlier that I was going to clean this up a bit. I didn't do that. I just I got a little lazy, I guess, but didn't quite come back to this. So this is still in the same state that it was last time we left off. So yeah, if any of this looks a little too familiar, that's why. But maybe that's better. Maybe that way it's easier for you guys to like kind of catch up and follow along with what's going on here. So anyway, last we left off, our man is wounded. Him and his impressive mustache are a little blood soaked. I kind of want to cut past the whole carrying him off and injured part, and just kind of get to like the next scene where I imagine we'd have our water carrier boy just kind of nursing him back to health. Name's still the carrier. We'll leave that as it is. Hmm. It's always picking back up. It's always starting that's troublesome for me. Just like starting when you don't have anything written, and then starting after you've written a little bit, but you're not really sure where to go. What should we start with? Yeah, I imagine if someone was like recovering, probably, and wood splinters, there we go. Beard clean through his flesh. I imagine that if, I imagine that's probably, like, plane crashes seem pretty gnarly. I don't want this guy to be too, like, completely obliterated so that it's like rational. It's like rational that some guy out in the desert with, like, bandages and water can, put him, patch him back together. Because if the guy lost a leg or something, I don't think you'd be able to fix him up because he'd probably need a hospital, right? But I think that's still enough to knock someone out. Concerningly, there we go. Not concurrently. That's probably a bad sentence. Well, we'll look at that again later. Uh, I always get nervous whenever my sentences are getting particularly long. I've read some books where like you'll have an author who just kind of he picks up a sentence and then just kind of goes and goes and goes. And there's ways to do that are grammatically correct, but they're still cumbersome. You need to give your reader a break at some point, especially if they're like reading it out loud. You ever read like a whole paragraph just completely uninterrupted? It's awful. It's terrible. It's painful. Yeah, I'm using a not optimal method of putting this down. I don't have like a copy of like Word, like just Word on its own on this computer. I do own Office, but right now I'm using like the fucking web client, which is it's workable. It's doing its job. It's just weird. Like you'd be surprised how much it fucks you up whenever you just have like a different interface. I used to own a Mac, and that meant that my go-to for writing was always Pages. And the funny thing about Pages is that like there's so much metadata about there's so much metadata like going across the whole fucking document that it's like, oh, you've got a you write 3 pages, right? And then that would be like it would be several like it'd be like a couple hundred megabytes or something. I'm not sure if that's accurate because it's been a while since I checked, but you'd have a couple hundred megabytes, whereas if you did the same thing on Word, it would have been like kilobytes. You know, like it always surprised me how small the Word documents were, and then you go to Pages and it's like, oh fuck, it's goddamn bloated. It's so huge. But yeah, it's I'm not really sure what it's doing for it. I think it's because, like, it's one of those programs that's really heavy. Like, they try to do so much all at the same time as you write, when most of the time I was just, like, doing this. I was literally just doing this, just typing, like, just text. I wasn't editing it that much or, like, trying to fuck around with the headings too much to get it better organized. I wasn't making a document. I was just making a story. I was just writing text. So, I didn't need all of those extra features. But it was nice that it just kind of came with the computer, you know. Otherwise, except for because like everything's subscriptions nowadays. You can't just buy a copy of something. Like you have to pay like per month to use stuff like Acrobat and all that. It's annoying. Hmm, where to go from here? I guess we need to get the carrier's thoughts because like we need to show because this is like kind of a drastic thing that's happened to him. So we need to yeah. Despite all the, we'll just stick to despite all the bandaging. Banging? Despite all the banging? I don't think they're banging. Bandaging. There we go. I'm not the best typist. Thing I always wonder is like what would be the best, because I feel like every author has a certain style of writing that just kind of gives them away. I wonder like if there's a way I can modify this so that it looked less. I don't know. I've got a certain style of writing that works for some settings and doesn't for others. Yeah, probably need a smoother transition between those two paragraphs. I'll have to add that later. Right now, our goal is to just get the thoughts out to get like the general shape of the story. That's kind of like that's one thing I always had trouble with whenever I was working on short stories like based off of prompts and stuff in the past was just like I'd always try to I wanted the paragraph to look good and be readable now, whereas I think the typical setup that people have and the way they tend to go about it is that they just kind of they do their rough draft and then they just kind of write the rough draft is all about getting your ideas down, you know. It's about getting all the basic it's getting this basic structure of the story like put down, you get all your ideas out, you feel everything out and then you just kind of apply it. But and for me, I would just like I would edit as I go, which wasn't always like good because it's just I'd have to change one thing and then I'd double back and then have to change a whole bunch of other things and yada yada yada. It's better to just like I don't know. Sometimes it's better to just leave it for later when you feel like it, when you've got a better head for it. Because unlike an essay or unlike an essay or something with a more obviously right answer, like creative work is based purely off of your mentality and like what works for you, what's getting your creative juices flowing like right now. So that's how I interpret it. So I would always just like I just kind of write as I go. I would always I think I remember doing this last time, but like I would always jump ahead and then like write something else because I had like my mind was on fire like thinking about something that hadn't happened yet. So I'm just like, all right, I'll just skip ahead. I'll write that part, get all the thoughts down there so that I don't lose them by not putting them on the paper and making them real, and then I'll double back and deal with this later. I've done that. I've done that a lot, and honestly, I think it works out because seeing you write while your passion is flowing is usually going to be better than a seeing you write otherwise. Just like when you're just trying to get to the next bullet point on your outline, so you might as well chase your passion if it's hitting you at the moment. Right now, I think I walked all the passion out of myself because that hike I went on was mostly uphill, so I'm currently a little currently have all the lightnings out of my nerves and I'm waiting for it to wake the fuck back up. I keep thinking about that mustache. I don't know why I'm so fixated on it. Ah, fuck it. There's a dichotomy here I'm trying to hit on between our aviator and our desert carrier, just because it's like we've got someone who spent all of their life essentially fighting off the elements, and we've got someone who spent probably a lot of time around machinery, which implies that they've been they're somewhere with a lot of resources and probably a lot of like infrastructure, because it takes a lot to build a plane. I think I'm gonna do a hybrid stream today. I think we're just gonna write for like an hour, hour and a half, and then after that we're probably honestly I might just move on to Final Fantasy 12 just because I want to get some more. I want to put some more time into that game because starting it kind of got the yeah, you know when you like start a game again like after just kind of letting it sit for a really long time, and then you just kind of go, wow, I forgot I like this game. I feel that way with Final Fantasy 12. It kind of reminds me of that game kind of reminds me of a time when I don't know, I just had more passion for video games, I guess, just because I couldn't play them as much because obviously I didn't really control when I had time for them, or like which ones or like whether I got them or not, essentially. So I would play that game so sparingly that I was like yearning for it when I didn't have it available, because like as I said, my oh, it was awful. It was like my uncle had I think my uncle had like a PlayStation that that Final Fantasy 12 was running on, and I think I specifically mentioned that I really wanted to try playing that game, so he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll get it." And so you can play it when you come over, and I was like so fucking excited for that. And then I came over, and then I played it, and then it was like amazing. And then and then I did that every time until eventually his fucking PlayStation broke, and he never got it replaced because obviously that's his business, it's his money. So but like I was so disappointed as a kid, and that I never got further than I did. I think as far as I got was when you're on the airship and you have to deal with like all the armored dudes and the judge, and like I never got further than that. So I'm taking me playing it on stream as my chance to finally actually like play it all the way through. Cause like when I bought the game again and then started playing it again, I think I dipped out around like the Celica wood. So I picked the game up and then dropped it for one reason or another twice. So I need to like this is my third time. I'm gonna see if I can just go through the whole thing this time, like for real, for real, for real. Yeah. I'm trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't seem like it's discriminatory. I'm just trying to show that they're very different people. Hmm. How much have we written so far? That's 3 paragraphs. 196. That's solid so far. We're like 25 minutes in. That's pretty good for me. I think some writers, especially really seasoned ones that do a lot of writing, and especially people who are doing the NaNoWriMo National Novel Writing Month in November, I think it is. They have they write a lot. They write a shit ton. They because like what you need to write is like it's like a 50,000 page novel, right? I think that's what it is. Yeah, let me double check. NaNoWriMo. Yeah, 50,000 fucking words. That's like 175 pages apparently. Yeah, that's a gnarly amount to write in a month cuz like in November you get like hang on, days in November. I'm so bad with remembering months and stuff. Yeah, 30 days. Okay. Okay, that's what I thought. 30 days in November, so you need to write like 50,000 divided by 30 is like if you wrote every single day you'd still have to write like yeah like 1,667 fucking words. I think the generally recommended amount is like 1,000, but honestly I write like 500 and I think that's about as far as I can get because I like in a single setting after single sitting after a long day. I think 500 is about as many words as I can put down before things start to fall apart. I have written more. I have written a lot in a night before, but it's not like that's not like that didn't build up momentum that I could carry. Like I've written like 8 pages in a day before, but that like is a once in a long while kind of thing. That's like me sitting down and having a deadline like sneaking up on me. That's like tomorrow or something where I just sit down and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta do this like right now, and then I just spend all night just like gradually just getting carried away by some story before by the end of it I've written like 8 pages and like it's done. Like my fingers are like smoking. My brain is kaput. I need to just go to sleep. But yeah, like it's definitely possible, but it takes a lot of discipline and it takes a lot of stamina. So I feel like that's something you need to build up as a writer if you don't have them already, because they're kind of necessary in order to actually put out like a book. Because there's different levels of like dedication that different stories or writing projects kind of require. Like short stories are, I'd say they're slightly committal, but not a huge deal. Because it's like you write like 10 pages. It's still got. Sorry, Edion. It's got like the basic building blocks of a story. So like yeah, you've got plenty of time to set things up, like imply whatever you want to about the past, but like you want the whole story to be focused on like the main action of the story, and then like you get some time to develop it, you get time to do your full ending, and then you get a little bit of time to do the denouement or the tie up loose ends. The what is it? The follow through. There's a better term for this. like the cooldown part after the end. The resolution, I think, is what it's also called. But basically, you've got enough space there to kind of get your full to get an idea and develop it into like an actual story. Or and then like I think like least committal would probably be flash fiction, where half the time it's not even like a full story because it's like what like 1 to 2 pages. It's hard as fuck to write a story in 1 to 2 pages. It's not easy. But yeah, at the opposite end, at like maximum dedication, is probably novels and stuff like epic poems or things like that. Like novel length projects also, just because it's so much. It's so much. And like people who manage to pull off like the National Novel Writing Month and like get 50,000 friggin' words written in a month, I applaud them, especially if they put out something actually coherent and readable. Like let's not even talk good. Like they put out something readable. Like I admire that. I can't do that. I'm too slow. I need time to like think about things, and I rely too much on my brain just randomly coming up with an idea for me to flesh things out. So so a lot of the times I end up writing relatively sporadically. It is a very individualized thing though, because like an author like Stephen King who churns out word like books like no tomorrow. He writes a lot every day. He probably writes like more than 1,000 words every day. He pumps words out like bullets out of a machine gun. Where's the button for that? There we go. But he just works by different rules. Other people, you just need to find out how many like words you need to write. I think Neil Gaiman at some point mentioned that he wrote like American Gods at like 20 to 50 words per like day, pretty much if you averaged it out. And I heard that and I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God this isn't a standard that like everyone's holding themselves to, because that would have been embarrassing. Yeah, how much did we write last time? 685. God damn, I was feeling it. We're at 196. All right, we're good. We're making good progress. We're half an hour in, and most of that's been me bullshitting. So it's I think we're making some decent progress. We just need to. I know we haven't really gotten anywhere yet, though. We kind of want to do some development. We need to get the carrier's thoughts on the man like for a little while, and then we need the man to wake up and then talk with him for a little bit. Maybe do like a maybe do like an overview thing where they hang out for a little while, and then we need some point of contention between the two. Probably whether or not the carrier should like leave, and then we need like a breaking point where like the carrier gets like a really really good reason to leave, and then he does leave, and then like there needs to be like a climax where he just finally decides to do it, and then the resolution will be him finally like leaving and then like taking off or whatever. Like maybe the guy fixes his fucking plane and then they like ride off and into the sunset together in a totally straight way. You know how it is. That's right, baby. We've got a semicolon. That's probably correctly used. I'm not sure. Semicolons are goofy because it's kind of hard to read sentences with semicolons in them. I feel like they're more like I don't feel like they're designed for people to read them. It's a little strange because it's like, look, the carrier's examinations that showed the man to be fairly alien, a creature from somewhere far off, possessing strange technology and a stranger demeanor, despite holding the same red blood as anyone else. Like, there's no pause here, so it makes it feel like it's a consecutive sentence but there's still two like independent clauses. Shit's strange. I don't know. How long do people tend to make their short stories? Is it like 10,000 words? 5,000, 10,000 words. We've got not even 1,000. All right, well, this one's going to be short. Cause I don't think I'm gonna write 5,000 words on stream. I'm not great at doing, I'm not great at thinking about things to talk about and writing at the same time, which is why I've been spending so much time just kind of zoning out. I'm also scared of writing with a possible audience. Gotta build up my stamina. Gotta edge myself so that I know where my limits are. Where are we going after this? These are not smooth, these paragraphs. It's not, I'm just kind of like jerking. I'm just like jerking to something else like after each paragraph, but that's how it goes. It's a rough draft. It's okay. That's my excuse. Sorry. It's been a long day already. It's pretty much only halfway through. Veteran from blood loss. I always wondered like how long someone could actually just be like out for, before it's like medically concerning. Because I know if you get knocked unconscious by like a blow to the head, you're probably brain dead if you don't bounce back like within a certain amount of time. So the idea of someone being knocked out and then like being just completely out cold for like hours apparently isn't that realistic, because if they've been out for hours, then they've likely something's very wrong with their body's ability to function, because it wants you to get back up, right? It wants you to get up and out and at it. It wants you to be conscious, but like it's not gonna get that out of you if you've been hit so hard in the head that like your body just isn't gonna like it can't even wake you up. How's it supposed to get you up and ready to do anything? I figured blood loss was like a good reason though, because like blood loss makes you tired, right? And then your body has to like rest while it makes more blood cells. I think that's how it works. Yeah, this is a bit of a jump. We need something in between these two here at some point. Page breaks are useful, but you don't want it to be too. You don't want to overuse them or make it too jarring. That's a problem I have where I'll just kind of skip stuff sometimes. I'm like I'm like falling asleep here. Hang on, I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back. All right, I'm here. I got my water. I'm no longer passing out. We'll just get another 20 minutes of this out and then swap over to Final Fantasy 12. I can write, I can sit down and write whenever, but I think I don't think my passion's in it at the moment. So we'll stick with this scene, and then once we close it out, we'll move on. Yeah, it's just slow right now. The gears in my head aren't turning particularly fast. I don't know, if I get 300 words out, I'll be happy. Or 400, because, like... let's go for 5. Let's stop once we hit, like, 500, and then, like, move out from there. You shouldn't judge progress like I am, just purely off of words. You should probably base it more off of, like, how much progress you've actually made in the story, but, you know... This is just how I'm thinking right now. I need something, like a... Right now the momentum's kind of slow. We're on like an exploratory, like introspective point. So we're still exploring our main protagonist. And then after that we'll establish like the character for our other boy, and then like after that we can start moving on with like the action of it, I guess. Is how I would do this. I've got an idea. Might be a little funny. Hmm. Social anxiety. Yep. That's our character trait. That's what we're doing here. You thought this was gonna be about water. No, it's about being awkward. Does prostration like does that refer to like the whole body, or can it just refer to something specific? Prostrate means to lying stretched out on the ground with one's face downward. Okay, yeah, no, it's the whole position. Maybe phrase this so that's a little more clear. That works. How he had no words. That works for me. How I talk. I like I had a teacher once who observed that like the way I write or the way there's one way of thinking that kind of helps give your story a voice, but it's just gonna be your voice. And it's basically thinking your story out in words and maybe like wording them in your mouth or like being able to like vocalize them instead of because some people when they think they don't think in words, they think in like feelings or impressions, and that's a little less conducive to writing. Not to say that it's impossible to turn that into writing, but like your writing's gonna be different if that's how it is. It's not gonna be any less good. But when you think in words, that's how I think. It's like it's easier to kind of like impress what your thoughts are like onto the paper just because it's already in words. So you just gotta put the words down. Well, I feel like when people think in images or just impressions or feelings, it's like lends it probably guides them more towards other creative expression rather than writing. Although maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's room for me to be surprised here. That just sounds weird. He was. Yeah, it's hard writing two people where they have the same pronouns because then you have to. It's generally better to just repeat their titles or names, just like more than you think you have to, just to make sure it's clear to the reader. I've fucked it up too much because like I tend to. I don't know if this is like an internal bias, but I do have a tendency towards writing stories that have a lot of male characters. I've written female characters, absolutely, but I tend to have a lot of male characters in my stories. So as a result, when two of them are talking or doing things together, it's always I have to be careful not to use he too often. He and him like in the same sentence but referring to different people because that's just it's a ripe opportunity for people to get confused. Sometimes I wonder if my writing just comes across as if it's trying too hard, like if it's like unnatural. Because I'm aware that my sometimes I'll whip out a word that's just not. It's more complicated or specific than it needs to be, and then like sometimes I feel like sometimes I listen back and like listen to myself and I go, man, who do I think I am? Like I used to be one of those kids that like would use big words like or like use words that at the time thought made me sound kind of smart and like technically or like technically it's like this or like actually that whole deal. But I was like that in like middle school, but I feel like I've grown out of it for the most part. But I still have a pretty sizable vocabulary just because like I kind of had to learn it for some of the books we had to read, and also I've read a decent amount, so I've come across interesting words that have like entered my lexicon. I'm using lexicon right? I get confused sometimes because I'll use a word and I'll be like, do I have the right? Is this correct? Vocabulary. Oh, hell yeah. We're on it today, everybody. I'm smart. I know words. But yeah, it's like I'll sometimes wonder if it just sounds like I'm trying really hard to make myself sound smart, and if it's coming across that way, it's not conscious. I assure you, it's just a holdover from the person I used to be. I do like it when I use a specific word and then fucking nail it though. That's a it's a good feeling. I kind of want to establish like how my or how our water carrier kind of knows more than I think a normally isolated person would. Just because it's like I feel like someone in his position would probably like maybe he's bartered for like books or something, and he's read those, and like as a result from that, he's got some idea of how people should talk, kind of, but he's never actually done it. So like he's got like that's part of why he's got so much trepidation. How much do we have now? This is 440 words. We're getting there. Hell yeah. All right. All paragraph, let's say. Another one. There we go. Honestly, with how razor focused we are down on the water carrier, this would probably work better as like a first person story, but we've gone this far, so might as well stick with it. Usually, there's one thing about first person stories that I really adore compared to third person is that you're kind of like inside of the person's head and you're not really you don't really extract yourself from that for anything. So like I always really appreciated that just cuz it kind of that's the most intimate sort of connection you could put between the reader and your protagonist. You literally have the readers see through the same eyeballs and think through the same brain as the main character who's the important one. Hello? Okay, there we go. Okay, my mic did something weird. All right, I hope that didn't fuck up my audio or anything. Uh, anywho, um, so what was it? The damn that fucked up my train of thought. What was it? Yeah, I don't remember. No, I'm sure it'll come back to me when I watch the stream back over and go, God damn it. There's probably too many page breaks, but whatever. That's a Discord message. That one later. I think we're about to get to the thing that I had the idea for. I think we're coming up to like a good closeout point for this. Alright, I think we're going to leave it at that for right now. A bit of a funny to close us out. We wrote 764 words. I'm proud of that. But yeah, I was just kind of like had this idea of like the water carrier. Like he has no idea how to talk to people, right? We've established that pretty well. And then like I figured that like he'd over prepare for like the intense experience of having to talk to someone, and then like as a result, when it came to the moment, he just kind of fumbled it to the maximum. Just kind of fumbled it, and then like then the other guy just goes what, and then he goes yeah, and then the guy starts laughing. So I figured that'd be a good way to get their sort of inner character dialogue going. And yeah, that'll set us up for the other part of the resolution, which would be them interacting more, and then maybe building up what their relationship is before we get to like the before we start getting to like the ending. I think when like the actual action like hits, and then like we have some more shit going on. So yeah, we'll leave this here for right now. But yeah, we are. I think I'm gonna close out the writing portion of the stream for right now. I think we'll. I'll put us on the. I'll put us on the please wait screen, and then we can then head off for Final Fantasy 12. Obviously on YouTube, this is gonna be the end of the video for right now. So thank you very much for watching. For those of you on the stream, stay tuned. I'll be right back.